The smell came first. No matter how much they cleaned, no matter how many windows they opened, it never went away. It clung to the walls. It seeped into their clothes. It followed them wherever they went. And then came the scratching. In 2015, the 𝐒𝐻𝐿 family started renovations on their home in Auburn, Pennsylvania. What they found inside their walls would turn their dream home into a nightmare. Just before we go into the details of this story, I need you to understand that we have put a lot of work into researching, scripting, and editing this video for your consumption. And the only gift we need from you in return is your subscription to this channel. If you have already done that, thank you very much. You are the reason why we still work very hard on this channel. Now, let's get cracking. At first, they thought it was a dead mouse. That would explain the occasional scratching sounds at night, the odd smell that wouldn't leave. But as they cut into the walls, they were met with something they could have never expected. Dead animals, dozens of them, rats, birds, even cats. Some wrapped in old newspapers, others surrounded by strange herbs and half-used spices. The newspapers dated back to the 1930s and 40s, yellowed and brittle, crumbling at the slightest touch. As they pulled more from the walls, the truth became clear. This wasn't just some rodent infestation. This was something older, something deliberate. The family was horrified. But as they pulled out artifact after artifact, they realized the problem was far greater than they had initially believed. Every room they opened seemed to hold more of these gruesome findings. The further they dug, the more questions they had. Experts traced the gruesome discovery to a practice known as powwowing, a form of Pennsylvania Dutch folk magic. For centuries, the Pennsylvania Dutch, descendants of German-speaking settlers, believed in healing rituals, protective charms, and prayers passed down through generations. Powwowing was meant to ward off sickness, protect livestock, and bring good fortune. But not all of it was harmless. Some rituals spoke of binding spirits, others called for blood sacrifices, and some, like what was found inside the 𝐒𝐿's home, involved sealing animals inside walls to trap something or keep something out. Some historians believe these rituals were meant to ward off evil spirits. Others suggest a darker reason, sealing entities within the home, preventing them from escaping. Either way, the family had unknowingly disturbed something ancient. The 𝐒𝐿's family sought out local historians, poring over old records and documents, trying to understand why their home had been filled with these strange rituals. They discovered that their house had a long and troubled past. The 𝐒𝐿's family had unknowingly disturbed something ancient, and almost immediately their lives began to change. The smell, no matter how much they scrubbed, it never faded. Mold grew in places they had just cleaned. They started feeling sick, headaches, coughing, and unease they couldn't explain. They called in professionals. The cost of removing the contamination climbed higher and higher. Insurance wouldn't cover it. In the end, they spent nearly $20,000 just trying to make their home livable again. But even after the walls were cleared, something still didn't feel right. The house was different. Some nights, the smell would return, faint but unmistakable. Other times, they swore they heard something inside the walls. Not mice, not rats, something bigger, something moving. Strange things began happening throughout the house. Objects would be found out of place, doors opened on their own, and shadowy figures lurked just beyond their vision. The family tried to brush it off as paranoia, but deep down, they knew something was wrong. Neighbors began to talk. Some recalled the house being vacant for long periods, owners leaving suddenly and without explanation. Others spoke of previous tenants who had reported similar disturbances, but no one had ever spoken about the animals in the walls. One night, the father woke up gasping for air. He felt a pressure on his chest, like something was sitting on top of him. He struggled, but he couldn't move. In the darkness, he swore he saw something shifting in the corner of the room. The children began waking up with scratches on their arms and legs. At first, they thought it was just their nails scraping against the sheets, but the marks became more distinct, deep, deliberate, and in patterns that didn't make sense. Their dog started barking at seemingly nothing, refusing to go into certain rooms. Lights flickered, voices whispered from the walls, and the air in the house grew colder. The family reached out to a local historian, hoping for answers. What they heard terrified them. The historian explained that this wasn't the first time something like this had happened. Others had found similar artifacts in old homes, and disturbing them often led to consequences. He told them of a previous homeowner who had experienced similar events. He, too, had removed the remains from the walls. Within a year, he fell ill, his health deteriorating rapidly. By the time he realized what was happening, it was too late. The historian's advice was simple: put the items back. Desperate and out of options, the family tried to return the artifacts to the walls. They placed them where they had found them, reciting a small prayer. But it was too late. The activity never stopped. The house remained tainted. Some nights, the scratching returned, more violent than before. The smell, rotten, foul, would reappear without warning. The family couldn't stay any longer. They had no choice but to leave. They abandoned their home, moving far away, but the memories never left them. The house still stands. It has new owners now, but those who walk past it say sometimes, late at night, if you listen closely, you can still hear something inside the walls. The 𝐒𝐴𝐻 family still struggles to shake the feeling that something followed them, a presence that lingered, a shadow just beyond the corner of their eye. To this day, the 𝐒𝐴𝐻 family's home stands as a reminder of the past, a past sealed inside its very walls for decades, a past that perhaps was never meant to be disturbed. The smell has faded, the sounds have stopped, but some things never truly leave. This is only one of many cases like this. Across the country, there are homes with histories just as dark, where families have unearthed things they were never meant to find. And in each case, the same question remains: what happens when the past refuses to stay buried?